Brothers, welcome back to Gamers Remorse. Today we play Overlords. A game for 2 to 4 players. Takes less than 30 minutes and is for ages 12 and up.
Are we all 12 or older?
Yeah, I think so.
Alright, we're good.
Well...
Overlords is a game for 2 to 4 players by Pass That Chit. The objective of the game is to amass the army with the most points. The card deck is constructed of hired hands and monsters. Hired hands enable you to obtain more or better monsters, and the monsters themselves make up your army. At its core, it is a set collection card drafting game. Each monster type has a set a player must obtain to maximize its value. For instance, if you gain 2 Orthrus, you earn 7 points. However, if you have 1 or more than 2 Orthrus, they're each only worth 2 points. At the end of the game, the player with the most points...
Alright, so we begin the game, and what we already did is there are hired hands in this game, and there are monster cards. You take 7 of the hired hand cards, put them in the deck, or the monster deck, shuffle them all together, and then what you do is you give each player 7 cards. So before we get too far along here, my overlords, my overlord friends. Right. What we need to do is determine who gets this overlord card. The overlord card determines who gets to play their hired hands first in each round of drafting. So the way we're going to determine who gets this overlord card is we're each going to give a 10-second speech to our minions, trying to encourage them to rise up against good. So who wants to start?
You got the robe.
I got the robe. I guess I'm on. I look like Emperor Palpatine.
Can you do your voice or your speech in Emperor Palpatine voice?
Yeah, but I don't know who I'd address it to.
To Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Darth Vader, go forth and kill the good side, the rebel scum.
Lightning effect.
Minions, we must rise. The forest encroaches upon our lands. Cut the trees, burn the farms.
My minions, today we will destroy the good and replace it with our evil influences.
You do a good evil laugh.
Yes.
I'm gonna give it to Nate.
I say if we can't vote for ourselves, I'm gonna vote for Nate.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Nate. So now what we do is we take the hands we have and we draft 1 card from it, placing it down in front of us. Ready to exchange?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. And we flip. So I grabbed the hired hand.
Thief.
Yeah. I'm not going to activate in this round though.
Okay.
Or the beginning of this next round. So you grabbed a Minotaur, you grabbed an Undead Warrior.
We're ready?
And flip. And flip. My point goes out. Flip. And I guess we're all taking the last one that we have.
Yep.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Flip.
Flip it. Black Knight.
Flip
that. And yep, that one.
Yep,
You guys ready to
flip.
flip? You guys already flipped.
Yeah, we
All right.
flip. I did 4. A Black Knight.
Oh my nice. Well,
But one of them's pretty good.
all right, ready to flip?
Yep.
And I got the Minotaur.
Undead Warrior.
All
All right.
Round 3.
Round 3. This is going pretty fast, actually. And I am going to choose... Crap, I can't remember if I have a Cyclops or not. That's what this game should be called.
Crap, I can't remember if I have to insert the book.
Right. I think specifically Cyclops. That's the worst one to get a duplicate of. And I made you pick... Okay, so that one has the Blue Knight in it.
Yep.
That was the handy part of having the Medusa. I could look at your guys' cards, so I know what's
You know
coming.
it's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the Black Knight is essentially worthless to me.
It's 2 points.
I don't think I have a Cyclops. So,
Taking a risk.
taking the Cyclops, moving that over there, rotating, and then we all have to take what's left.
Yep.
And I can't use it, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Were you going to use this last round?
Yeah.
Before I made you?
Well, I originally picked Orthus.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I'm going to use this. So I'm like, oh, I guess I can't take Orthus. And then I was like, wait, Blue Knight, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. On your next
I should have
turn.
picked Blue Knight.
Yeah.
But then you picked Orthus. I'm like, well, that's what I picked anyway.
Yeah. That's fair.
So
That's fair.
let us tally.
Yep. Let's see who wins.
Yeah,
It's
you've got
9.
80. 80.
80? Yep.
Yep.
You got 80? What did you have?
63. Staying consistent, you know.
No, I had math 74.
Woohoo!
Victory!
So we played the game Overlords. It's time to review. I'm going to go ahead and start it off with Brian, and we can work it this way.
All right, this is an interesting game, personally. The card drafting mechanic, it's something that was at one point revolutionary, arguably, but it's become quite prominent. I say arguably because there have been collectible card games doing drafting tournaments for over 20 years. But it's been new to tabletop gaming within the last few years. It's been revitalized, you could say. But this game did it differently. But on that, let's just jump into my rubric. As far as the visuals go, these visuals are fantastic. I don't know if the designer did the artwork. I don't know if he hired an artist to do the artwork. I don't know if he stole it off of the internet, but it is amazing. And I really like the way it's done. The cards, they really pop well. The font's very legible, readable font, but it does have that ancient medieval feel to it. So I'm going to give that 2 out of 2 on the visuals. Skill luck, I'm going to give it a solid 0.5. There is skill on choosing what you collect, but there's luck in, I wanted to go for Hydras. I only had 1 Hydra passed to me the entire game, and Sean took it. So, that's just the luck of the draw. None of my starting hands had Hydras. So then for pacing, I'm going to give it a 1.25. I've never given something a quarter before. But I feel like this is about a pretty well paced, but it's can pause on certain players. And then also you're trying to sit here and remember, did I take a Cyclops? I can't remember. Oh man. And so you can spend forever trying to remember what you've taken and what you haven't. So I'm going to give that a 1.25. It deserves a bit more than a 1 because it is fairly fast, but it's not as fast as I'd like it to be. Theme and immersion, I'm going to give that a 1. I don't feel like I'm amassing an army, but then when I put everything out and I start counting stuff, like in my mind I just see these columns of Minotaurs and my Chimeras over here, and it's just kind of cool. Like at that score, that's when the theme hits me. It's when I have everything divided out in front of me. Again, with the mechanics, I'm going to give that a 0.5. I enjoy card drafting, but I feel like it's getting too common. It's to the point where it's just not fresh anymore. But it's still enjoyable. But if it's between this and a game that doesn't have it, I'd probably pick the game that doesn't. So 0.5 on mechanics. And then is it fun? I'm going to give it 1.5. I greatly enjoyed the game. There were things that I wish could be tweaked minorly, but it played very well. It played very quickly. And at the end, I'm not sitting here waiting for it to finish. Like the end, it just happens, and you're like, oh wow, that was perfectly timed. And so all in all, I'm giving it a 6.75, which is really a fairly good game. Sean, what are your thoughts?
Nice. So we've been doing a lot of micro games lately, and I have to say this one stands out to me in regards to how quickly it was able to be played while maintaining a certain level of skill. And I like that. But as Brian said, it pretty much stripped down to the mechanic of card drafting, right? And determining a set selection based on that. So you have set collection, card drafting are the 2 basic mechanics. It stripped that down, but I think it paired it rather nicely. There wasn't other confusing bits to it, so it was very streamlined. I liked that about it. So I'm gonna hop into my rubric. Brian said a lot of things. I agree with him across the board on
no
all
fights.
This. Right, no fights. All right, so quality of components, I'm going to give it a 1.5. That's on a scale of 0 to 2. The reason for that is Brian said fantastic artwork. I love the artwork. I love the typography. Very easy to read. There's no other goofy stuff. The one thing I would say is it takes 4 helper cards, which seems like a bit much. I don't know if there's a better way to do that. I know you have to fit it.
Double backed too.
Yeah, I know you have to fit it in this small container here. I get that. They're double backed, but there's only 2 sets of them. I had a small problem with that because there's 3 of us. Good balance of skill to luck. That's on a scale of 0 to 1. I'm giving it a 0.75, so 75% of that. Reason for that is because, as Brian said, you might be looking for Hydras and you don't see one the whole time. You know? It just seemed like sometimes it wasn't fair in that aspect, but a lot of it was skill because you have to make do with what you have. So I got a lot of zombies and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just keep taking zombies. So that last hand, I think I picked up 5 zombies because no one else was. Yeah. And that was huge for me. Analysis paralysis, 0 to 1. I'm giving it a 0.75 because, as Brian said, sometimes you have to sit there and think about, oh, what did I have? How many Hydras do I have? Because if you go over 5, they count as 0, so you're wasting turns. But at the same time, you only have a limited set of options. I liked how there was a round because you didn't start off with like 15 cards. That would take forever to determine what you wanted. Whereas you only started off with like 7. And of those, you could, pick and choose what you wanted. So that was nice. Theme, 0 to 2. I'm giving it a 1.25. As Brian said, as you're just choosing single cards, I didn't feel into it per se. But then as you extrapolate your entire army, I mean, look at this. I have a row of Hydras, zombies, Minotaurs. I mean, that was really cool to see play out in the end. I think maybe these hired hand cards could be used to develop that theme a little bit more. They seem like almost like agent cards, if you will, where you could use them to do different things. It would be cool to see a hired hand card able to better your army, if that makes sense. So maybe like a Captain Minotaur that would add on like 5 or something ridiculous. Yeah. But there should be a requirement as well. Either way, 1.25 on that. Throw versus competitive on a scale of 0 to 2. I give it a 1.25. Reason for that is it seemed like I was playing alone for the beginning part of it, until we totaled it up. Yeah. We had played with the idea of totaling it up after every round, but since each hand plays into each other for the bigger army, that didn't make sense. Yeah. So I don't know what I would do to improve it. That's just how I felt, was 1.25. Was it fun? 1 to 2. I'm giving it a 1.5. Reason for that is I had fun. I really liked it. It was a great micro game. It was a great filler game. As I'm waiting for people to show up for a bigger game, I would play this game. Absolutely. I really liked it. Yeah. So total, I gave it a 6.5. Brian gave it a 6.75. Yeah. That's pretty good. Nate, what do you think?
I guess for me, I really like the speed of this. I really like the strategy that goes into it. I'm a huge strategy guy and a huge numbers guy, so I love the tallying up at the end. I like being able to see the army you've collected. I'd agree that kind of during the game, there's not a lot of, not as much thrill as there could be. It feels like you're playing alone, like these guys said previously, but definitely at the end, you see what your work has ended up conglomerating together, and you get to see how well you did. And I really like the speed and the strategy. I guess for me, I'd give it about a 7 or so.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Comments below if you played this game or if you want to play this game. This game's coming out on Kickstarter soon. I would recommend it. Yep. Just bring someone with you that knows math. So, all right. See you guys. Bye.
See ya. Go back.
Hat while driving to work the other day, and on my lunch break I had to go buy some stuff, and so I had no time for lunch, so I just drove through Burger King on my way back to work
with that on.
with wearing this hat.
They're like, what?
And the lady, she's like, here's icy.